Shabbat Shalom and welcome everybody. I am Rabbi Javier Katapan and I am joined this evening by our musicians and Leslie. You've experienced how creative Leslie is already today.
I am a danger to myself.
We want to thank our technical team who's always looking for extra members to join them. So if you're interested in that, let us know. For those of you joining us remotely, please take down this number should you have any problems with the streaming, we have a technical assistance line, and that's 913-303-1134. You can text that number, and one of our docents will help you. For everybody else who is here in person, just a reminder that we are calling the page numbers in the square brackets. We're doing that for those at home too. If you have a prayer book, it will be in the square brackets too. We invite everybody at home and here to make sure that your electronic devices are muted. Wonderful. It is a beautiful day here in Kansas City. So if you are home or walking around, we used to have people who walked around and carried us through. So remember during the pandemic, people did a lot. They took a moment to walk outside and they had their headphones on and they just went for a stroll with us. So that's fun. Well, welcome again. We begin our service together. Welcome in Shabbat on page 121. We read on the top of the page, as these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. If you have candles at home, we invite you to light the candles. And on page 120, join us in the blessings.
Village Shalom lights every time the first time, I'm just saying.
They do?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to find out what brand their matches are.
Good.
Aha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom. This is the Shabbat right before Pesach, and later on we're going to do something that we call Ask the Rabbi, and this is a Passover edition. So if you have any questions, both here in person and online, we'll be able to do that a little later. So I'm just saying, you always wanted to ask a question about Pesach. This will be your opportunity. We continue welcoming Shabbat on page 130 with words from Lechu Neranena. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena l'Adonai. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena l'Adonai. Naria, Naria, Letzur Ishenu, Lekadma Fana Betoda. Naria, Naria, Letzur Ishenu, Bizmirot Naria lo. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena l'Adonai. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena l'Adonai. Page 138, we join together in singing Lecha Dodi. We are singing stanzas 1, 2, 5, and 9. Lecha Dodi, Likerat Kala, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
שמור וזכור בדיבורך, והשמיענו אל עמך אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, לשם תפארת ולתהילל.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעודך ומיורי, אורי, אורי, שיר תברי, כבוד אדוני יכנקה.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה.
בואי כלה, בואי כלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai. Alechu,
Et Adonai,
et Adonai. Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach, Le'olam We continue together in the middle of page 149. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'ariv Aravim. Page 150. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לעולכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Amen. As we have been doing since the beginning of the month of Nisan, the month during which Passover occurs, we've been trying to anticipate the holiday in a musical way in the liturgy. Passover is Monday evening. It's here very soon. I hope you're all ready. I still have some cakes to bake before then.
What do you bake cakes with?
The mix from Manischewitz.
Ah.
It has new packaging.
How
It
does
looks very
everybody
nice.
feel about the new packaging?
I like it better.
See, I heard the most incredible debate about this on a podcast that I listened to,
really?
and these people had opinions about the new. So check it out. If you haven't seen the new Manischewitz box, apparently it is dividing friendships.
Right.
It's amazing.
I haven't opened yet, so I wonder what's inside is probably the same thing that
ever
has been there for
feel-
the last 100 years.
Do you
but-
ever feel like people
Yes,
are
I
just
do.
looking for something to argue about?
Change is difficult. It's hard.
Change is difficult.
I bet that you just went through the aisle and said, they don't have any this year.
That's right. That's right.
New packaging. Anyways, so I've been saying this every Shabbat, but I'm going to say it again. The tradition is, one of the traditions in the Ashkenazic liturgical world is to sing Micha Mocha to the tune of Adir Hu, which Leslie and I both dislike very much. So, you can all sing it
You
at
don't
the
have to say
Seder.
that every time.
I will say it every time. It gives me tremendous pleasure. So that I don't have to do Adir Hu this year. Thank you so much. So we chose, we found this other song, which is lovely. It is,
By Ellen Allard.
thank you. And but Leslie has been composing extra lines, creating extra lines as we get closer to Pesach. So
This week we're doing mostly Ellen.
Okay,
I added a
all
couple
right.
at the end.
all right. And the original is Standing at the Sea, Singing and Dancing. Standing at the sea, Micha Mocha, standing at the sea. Mi chamocha, standing at the sea. Mi chamocha, freedom is on our way. Standing and dancing, mi chamocha. Standing and dancing, mi chamocha. Standing and dancing, mi chamocha. Freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. They're coming up behind me, chamocha. They're coming up behind me, chamocha. They're coming up behind me, chamocha. Freedom's on our way. Bound no more, mi chamocha. Bound no more, mi chamocha. Bound no more, mi chamocha. Freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. We're almost there, mi chamocha. We're almost there, mi chamocha. We're almost there, mi chamocha. Freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 freedom is on our way. Very nice. Yasher Koach. We continue together on page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch Ata Adonai, הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותיהם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותיהם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותיהם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותיהם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותיהם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותיהם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמר לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. שפתיי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך אדוני שפתיי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך אדוני שפתיי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מהשיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. בנאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
After the tragic events of October 7th, 2023 in Israel, many of us have included during services a Misheberach for those still in captivity or whose whereabouts are unknown. May the one who blessed Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob, Leah and Rachel, bless, watch, and guard the captives, men and women, among others, of the house of Israel who found themselves in distress and captivity. May Adonai grant mercy upon them, take them out from darkness and gloom, break their chains, redeem them from their ordeals, and return them quickly to the comfort of their families. And may the words of the prophet Isaiah be fulfilled speedily in our own time. Ufeduei Adonai yeshuvun, then the ransom of Adonai shall return. Uvau Tzion berina v'simchat olam al rosham, and come with shouting to Zion, crown with joy everlasting. Sason v'simcha yasigu v'nasu yagon v'anacha. They shall attain joy and gladness, while sorrow and sighing flee. And let us say, Amen. Our attention now turns to those closer to home, those among us who are in need of healing of mind, body, and spirit. Those of you on Facebook Live, you can type names on the comments. I'll try to read them in just a few minutes, seconds mostly, not minutes. And those of us here in person can offer names as I go around this side. Thank you. Chris Gray. As we think of those in need of healing, on page 371, we join together in the Mi Sheberach prayer. Mi Sheberach Avoteinu Mekor HaBeracha source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. We are Chaya, Lena, Chris, Karen, and Annie. We also offer a prayer for those struggling with addiction and mental health issues. May the one who blessed our ancestors bring blessings of strength, companionship, and healing to those of us who struggle with the oppression of addiction, emotional distress, and mental suffering. Surround them with loving kindness, grace, companionship, and peace. refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. It is now time for our Simcha moment. If you have a special Simcha, we invite you to share it. You can type it on the comments. It could be something from this past week, birthday, anniversary, good news, and accomplishments. For those of you here in person, there's an X. I would like you to stand there and tell us who you are and why you are here. Somebody was posting online, I was reading, said something, the story about a guy who first, put a toe into the... His name is Nachshon, for those of you wondering about who he was. And that's his claim to fame. Pretty big, but that's the only one.
I might have talked about him in my video.
You did. But I actually told that story for the kids when I was here for my first interview many years ago.
One of my favorites.
Many years ago.
I'm Warren, and granddaughter Lillian competed in her first state level science Olympiad last week and had a really good experience, so we were proud of her.
Hello, I am Hadassah. This week, I made chicken noodle soup, cinnamon classics, and this week I was invited to my friend's birthday party, and it's tomorrow.
I'm here in honor of Carol, but well,
She has to be here.
she's not here.
She has to be here to be able to participate.
But I feel her. So
Hi,
I almost
Carol.
started dancing in the songs, and I didn't, but I almost did. But I'm Andrea, and I haven't said anything about my farm for a while, but it is beautiful right now. The bees are a little pesky, but they are buzzing, and the trees are growing, and it is a gorgeous place south of Overland Park. So I'm very blessed.
Wonderful. No goats yet, right? Still no goats. Oh, yeah.
One day.
One day, yes.
I'm Sheila Spicer, and last Saturday was my 54th birthday. April 4th was mine and my boyfriend Pete's 8th dating anniversary, even though we've been friends since 1989. We've been more than friends for 8 years. Which,
I love it more than.
yeah, given that we were just friends for 25, it's pretty special. And then today is my oldest son, Brendan, Joyce's 22nd birthday. Thank you.
I am Sherry Moss, and I am grateful that I have had my cousin Susan visiting here all week, and it has been a pleasure to spend this week with her, and I still have her till Saturday. Thank you.
Let me see online if anybody. I had an eventful week. We were in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I think we might have found a place to live. We may not be homeless when we move there. So well, we'll see. It's how the things work. But at least we made some progress. And our house is on the market now, so
It's a lot.
There's a lot of activity. Like the doggies have been riding in the car to go to places. They got a lot of extra trips. One of them loves it, the other one hates it. So can be. So
You can't please everybody.
You can't please everybody. Wonderful. As we gather all our simchas, we share this prayer. Divine source of blessings, we thank you for everything that enriches our lives. We turn to you now with gratitude as we share in the happiness of those who have marked their birthday, anniversary, good news, and accomplishments. Adonai, be with them now and always. May they be blessed with the strength to overcome sickness and sorrow, and with much health and happiness now and always. And as we honor each one of you for the gifts that you bring to our sacred community, together we join in song to mark this sacred occasion. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. What happened there? Congratulations, Mazel Tov. So it is now time for our Ask the Rabbi about Pesach, and to make it workable for all of us, Leslie is my timekeeper. We do about 15 minutes. And also Leslie will repeat the questions that you ask, especially if you're here, because the people who are watching are not going to be able to do that. But before we begin, I want to say a few words. I was thinking, there was something I was thinking about, and I don't know why I never said anything about this. And it's not really that important. But still, I think you should know. And this is something about the Hebrew language. As I was singing some of the prayers, I'm like, I wonder if when I'm singing some of these words, in my head, I know how to divide each word, the syllables, how you divide them. But it's not what it seems like. So the word Adonai, how many syllables is that? Well, in Hebrew it's actually 2. Adonai. How many syllables is Shema? 1. Shema. So yeah, those who know Hebrew know what I'm talking about, but it was interesting. I don't know why. It just felt like, Shema, 1, Israel, Adonai. That's how I think about it. But I think many of you think Adonai. But I think Adonai. So anyways, there it goes. Interesting. Yeah, I thought so. It's interesting. It's not earth-shattering, but it is interesting. Food for thought. Now on to Pesach. How many syllables? How many syllables in Pesach? 2. Very good. It goes with the vowels. There are some vowels that create a full syllable and some vowels that don't. In Hebrew, by the way, it's a syllabic language. Each, it's very important. The syllables are very important as such. So kind of like each letter originally was meant to be a syllable, if it makes sense. All right. We have a question over there, and you can say the question, and then Leslie will repeat it.
Why do we have to drink grape juice and or wine during the Seder?
Wonderful
right? You mean
question.
during the Seder? Yeah.
Yes. So there's one cultural reason, kind of historical cultural reason, and one more religious reason. And the cultural historical reason is that the Seder, although not exactly based on some customs in the Eastern Mediterranean, there's been a lot of debate about how much of the world surrounding the rabbis influenced these kinds of things. But certainly when in the ancient world, what we call now the Greco-Roman world, and in the case of the rabbis is kind of the late Roman, imperial period, free men, because women didn't count, would gather together, and when they had an important occasion, they will drink wine. The other one, though, because the rabbis couldn't just say that, they said, well, in the book of Psalms, it says that wine rejoices the hearts of men. And so there you go, because Pesach is a celebration, therefore we do that. There are some scholars who suggest that the numbers is part of how they did a Greek symposium, and some of my professors swear by it. I don't think that's the case, but it's a long story why it is not. So if you read about that, know that I think they are wrong, but some people think they're right. So there you go. Good question.
I'm afraid to say that the gentleman in the back has a question.
The mensch of the month have a question.
I actually have multiple, but I'll only start with
All right, please.
with the plagues, I understand that there might be multiples to sort of make your point. But what I'm wondering about is, I realize that there's only one plague that required the Israelites to actually do anything, and that's the final plague. The first 9, they are spectators. But the death of the firstborn, they have to do the will of God,
Right.
And mark their doors. So is there something to that, or?
So for those of you listening at home, 9 plagues are plagues that the Israelites witness. The 10th plague is a plague where they actually have to do something to avoid it. And does that mean something?
Oh, you simplified that very well. I wasn't sure what the question was. So a couple of things come to mind, and I won't be able to answer it all in such a short period that I have allotted here. Now, to your first comment as to whether the Jews in Egypt suffered only, were spared only the last plague or not. It is true that the last plague was spared. It's not clear in rabbinic literature, but even in the text itself, as to whether the Israelites, the Jews who were living in Egypt, were spared the other plagues or not. And there are several, and this is a theological discussion as to, if, there was darkness, there's a midrash that said, well, there was darkness everywhere, but there was light in the house of the Bnei Israel. So what they're saying is that, and this is when it gets complicated, is that each of the plagues included a miracle. The text, it says that God, we read it in the Haggadah all the time, God took us out of Egypt with a stretched hand and with otot umuftin, which are signs and great marvels. And a lot of people, the obvious thing is that those marvels were the parting of the Red Sea, and the sparing of the Israelites and all that. But a lot of the rabbis actually list all the miracles that happened as each one of the plagues were occurring. Like the boils and the frogs and all that. So this is all more of the rabbinic side, because the problem here is that if God brought those plagues onto the Egyptians and the Jews suffered too, that doesn't look very good, if you're really kind of, helping these people. And the piece, so in some of there is kind of a polemical or anti-Egyptian religion side of the plagues as well. So the many scholars who've studied ancient Egyptian religion can point out that each one of the plagues had something to do with Egyptian practices, and so that this was also demoralizing for the Egyptians to see that the things were happening. The last one is the most important of them all, because it also affected the son of the Pharaoh, and if Pharaoh was God and all those things, then it's showing that Pharaoh didn't have control over his own family. But this is an interesting piece because I think we don't realize how central the story of the last plague is to the celebration of Pesach. The rabbis in general distinguish between two kinds of Pesach. One is called Pesach Mitzrayim, the Pesach that occurred in Egypt. And in that one, the Jews are supposed to put blood on their doorposts so that that last plague will skip them. So there's no need to explain the miracle because, as Dave said, they're actually doing something. But you have to have miracles for the rest if you really want a nice story. And the second Pesach is usually called Pesach Dorot, the Passover for the generations. And in that one, the plagues play no role almost. So it's an interesting thing because the plagues only, you mention them, but that's it. You don't enact any of the plagues during the Seder, right? Which, to me, that would make sense, right? If you're supposed to reenact the Exodus from Egypt, frogs, a little lice, perhaps, to bring to the table, who knows? That just, to me, makes more of an experiential thing, right? But you got the bitter herbs who have nothing to do with anything, and you got charoset that has nothing to do with anything, and it's like, where's the story, the bitter herbs, the rabbi said, because the Egyptians embittered the life of our, well, I understand, but really? The whole thing is the plagues, and they're absent. You just, do the wine on that. So anyway, good question. There's a lot more written about specifically how you go from that we call Pesach Mitzrayim to the Pesach Dorot, and there's a whole process that happened. Another question. Okay, Warren.
I grew up with the tradition in our family of eating mashed up hard-boiled egg.
Yes.
But nobody ever knew why. And so my cousins and I of my generation wonder if it was just misinformation or is there really a rationale for that?
Why do we eat hard-boiled eggs why do some of us eat hard-boiled eggs at Pesach?
Right. There's no halachic reason to eat it. So what also happens is some of the customs on the particulars of the food in particular are not described, not part of the Haggadah, right? Because the only really two types of food that you eat that are mentioned in the Haggadah are matzah and the bitter herbs. Charoset is not mentioned at all. And so the rest is all kind of an invention of things. However, there is a little bit more on the egg that we put on the ke'ara, on the Seder plate, that some people burn on the stove, they kind of boil. And there used to be certain kinds of sacrifices at the temple in Jerusalem, and this might have been one of them, and therefore the eggs come into play. Now, as far as whether it is mashed or that's probably more of a regional thing than anything else. And, there are entire books that just talk about customs of Pesach that are not related to anything. Also, there's one thing about Pesach that distinguishes from a lot of other holidays. And it is, as Dave, sometimes we talked about this, that, sometimes we just say, you let the inmates run the asylum. But that's what happens, because Pesach really happens at home. And every balabatan, every man who's in charge of that, makes up their own thing. And where is a rabbi to tell them no? I mean, unless, where's the book that says you couldn't do that? They really do whatever they want at home. So I say this because, it's different. Like the costumes for Rosh Hashanah are very fewer variety when it comes to food and all that. It's more standardized because we got more control of that. But the Seder, you do whatever you want, and you don't tell the rabbis to do or not. Some people ask the rabbi, but not usually. So it's mostly we report back what we see. We have two more. How are we doing in time? 1, 2?
You got 53 seconds, but I'm interested in the 2 questions.
All right, please. Okay, these are the last 2 questions, and they're all right. So Doug first, and you will repeat
I'm a benevolent dictator. Oh, one of my favorite questions. Are we allowed to eat kitniot? Corn, beans, peanuts.
Right. No, and that's a big difference between Ashkenazic authorities and Sephardic authorities. Now there is about, so because the rabbinic establishment does control the Vada Kashrut, the people who say what's kosher and not kosher, then they could say this is kosher, this is not kosher. In the Ashkenazic world, anything that may look like grain, it's off limits. In the Sephardic world, there has to be one of the 5 kinds of grains. And there are 5 kinds of grain from which you can make matzah. And those same 5 of grains are the only ones that are forbidden to eat on Pesach. So you cannot make kosher for Pesach matzah from rice. Therefore, you can eat rice. Make sense?
We eat kitniot at my house. I mean, for what it's worth.
So,
it's
in other
really
words,
seems
whatever. So the things that can produce chametz are the things that, if you mix them with water and you put them, according to some rabbis, more than 18 minutes, then they produce chametz. But if they cannot produce chametz, then they're not. So it's like a banana, you can mix it with water and you can leave it there. It's never going to, so the banana is kosher for Pesach. You cannot make kosher for Passover matzah from bananas. I know, this is rabbinic logic. This is how it works. So, because, all the, you can make like things from, potato starch, right? But you cannot make kosher for Passover matzah from corn starch, from potato starch. You cannot. It's not kosher. It's something else. You can eat it, but it's not kosher. It's not matzah. Matzah has to be made with one of the 5 grains, which are the only 5 grains that can produce chametz. Now, so what's behind this? Well, the idea is that what is forbidding is not the grain, but what can come out of it, which is chametz. And it's kind of like nothing is really good or bad. It's whatever the rabbis, or God through the rabbis, said is good or bad. Right? Because it's about discipline and it's not about cosmology. The world does not come to an end if chametz exists. It's like there's nothing, alcohol is not bad or good. If drunk in a certain way, could be good. If drunk in a different way, it's really bad. So that's kind of the rabbinic lore. So chametz is not bad. It's only bad at a certain time of the year. And we have one more. She allowed another one, so we're going with it.
Make it good.
Yes. Sorry.
The syllabic conversation that destroyed the fabric of a life. So we're sorry. Yes.
Yes. Right. Sure.
Everybody I talk to now says that the adults hide the afikomen and the child finds it.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
So we're talking about the difference between
Sorry.
who hides the afikomen. Does the kid hide the afikomen from the adults and ransom it back? Or do the adults hide the afikomen and then the kid goes and finds it in a happy little game?
So, again,
I'm sure
these
you
are
did
these
just
are
that.
kind of the variations on the theme of something in the Seder, like the eggs, whether you eat the boiled egg whole or mashed. The Seder has kind of things built into it that are supposed to be educational. Now, of course, the philosophy of education has evolved in the last 1,000 years. So, 1,000 years ago, perhaps, when you were during one of the steps of the Seder, you wash your hands, but you don't say the blessing over washing your hands. That was supposed to be educational, because the child would know that the father would wash his hands every time they were beginning a meal before he said hamotzi, and he wasn't supposed to say a word between washing the hands and eating the bread, saying the hamotzi. You're not supposed to say anything. But lo and behold, that is acting weird today, because he washes his hands, doesn't say the blessing, and then they start talking. So, manishtana halayla hazeh. Why? So that's the idea why this is not different. So there are all these other little things that people came up with. They're not halacha. They're simply a minhag, a custom to keep children entertained, including the very last, songs at the very end. So. That's right.
I have a little different take on it.
Okay.
Because I think that we do these things because we're commanded to experience going out of Egypt ourselves, and we're supposed to teach our children to do that. So we've got to involve them. They have to be part of that. And we do enact all of the plays in our Seder's. I mean, we throw marshmallows.
Oh, no, I understand. I mean, I'm just saying this is all part of the same thing. So,
I think it's because it's the way we can teach our children where they'll remember it. It's an educational tool.
One of our Uber educators here at Beth Torah has pointed out that many of the things that we do in our Seders are to get the kids involved. Is there a halachic reason? Yeah, teach your children. So it's the ways that we find to engage them. It's kind of a snooze fest if you go on and on and on.
I said at the very beginning that the philosophy of education has changed in the last 1,000 years.
Yes.
So, but some of the things that I described made sense 1,000 years ago, and they don't make sense today. Granted. But the point is that every generation made up new things to do that. The throwing of the whatever, you want to do it. The thing about who hides what doesn't matter. But it was just because you wanted to engage them late in the evening to do something. That's all I'm saying. It all falls under my overwhelming category as such. So it is part of that. And a comment from the audience or a question?
We always do after we have the meal and the desserts, that our last taste of the whole thing should be the afikomen.
The last taste is the afikomen. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. Yes.
They're better than nothing.
Yes.
The beautiful and terrible thing about Judaism is the answer to almost any question is, well.
Well, not quite. I mean, there are some things that are there. I mean, there are varieties, but the varieties within. There are actually cases in which you can go beyond the kind of the pale of things. So it is
Tevye lives in
possible.
my head. On the other hand,
On the other hand,
there is no other hand. Oh,
there is another hand.
very interesting. Good questions, everybody.
Yeah. Very good. Excellent. Well, I had a backup plan, but I don't need it. You're going to have to figure out some other time. So, it is time for us to conclude this service with Aleinu L'Shabech on page 586. If you're able, please stand and join us.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latit gedula le'otzei breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei aratzot, elo sabanu kemishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahen, aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim ubishachamim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ונאמר
והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. היום ההוא יהיה אדוני, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. We now turn our thoughts to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. As a congregation, we are observing the Shiva period for our member Marilyn Lewandowski. And on this Shabbat, we remember the following yortzites of members of our congregation: Joseph Berkowitz, Isabella Childers, Jack Eiler, Fanny Feiner, Doris Flamm, Marshall Gary, Leo B. Gelfand, Harold A. Hunt, George Kaplan, Harold Katz, Dorothy Kreitman, Lillian Lustig, Simon Polsky, Marilyn Rosenthal, Jean Sains, Harold Siegel, Esther Silverstein, Beth Smith, Merle Smith, Evelyn Spitkowski, Shirley Zeskind. Zichronam livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. Please join me according to your custom on page 598 as we recite Kaddish Yatom. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דא אמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. May be seated.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום
Some thank yous and announcement. Thanks to, do we have an usher today? Damien. Thank you. And thank you to our musicians, Larry, Warren, and Leslie, and to our technical team in the back. Our Shabbat celebrations continue tomorrow with Sichat Shabbat at 9 a.m., followed by our Shabbat morning worship service at 10:30 right here.
And Sunday is our chocolate Seder, chocolate and other candy, for those of you who don't like chocolate. See the flyer, table, and website for time and details.
So a reminder that Tuesday is our second night congregational Seder. We look forward to seeing everyone who has registered to attend. The registration is closed.
That is correct. It is time to register. It is, however, time to register for the next Juliet event. It is for Jewish women or female spouses of a Jewish partner. On April 28th, meteorologist Jeff Penner will teach us about global warming and long-range forecasting. Registration is required by April 24th.
And a week from today, next Friday, we have something special in store for you. Our pianist Susie will be back and will join Leslie and I with Songs of Passover. It's a short sermon in song. It's kind of like what we did for High Holidays, you know. If we had time, we will sing all these extra things. That's kind of what we're doing. If we had time in the Seder, if we could do it for 3 hours.
If we never wanted to go to bed.
Exactly. Then this is what would it look like. So, but only 15, 20 minutes. It's not the 3 hour. I'm not trying to scare anybody.
I'm involved. You know it's not going to be that long. Finally, Sunday the 28th, we are hosting the next Potluck Productions play reading. There will be no food, but there will be a beautiful banquet of short plays by local women. And I do a little musical introduction, and be aware there is some adult content, $5 at the door.
Now, I see the word here, potluck and banquet.
No food.
But there's no food. You're going to kill me with this one. It says potluck and banquet.
What does it say after that? No
I know.
food.
One day I'm going to show up with a crock pot.
You could bring food. I'm sure people would eat it. I'm sure. We are feeding you with our talent.
All right. There's so much more going on. We encourage you to participate in your Beth Torah community activities. We have a lot coming up. Pesach is coming. We have Yizkor also next week, so the following week. But please look for all the information coming to you in the middle of the week. After our closing song, we invite everyone to join us in the Ulam for Kiddush and Oneg. And in honor of Pesach and the Seder, please stand if you're able and join us for Dayenu. הוציאנו ממצרים,
הוציאנו,
ממצרים דיינו, די דיינו, די דיינו, די דיינו, 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 די דיינו, די דיינו, דיינו, דיינו.
אילו נתן לנו
את השבת,
נתן לנו
את השבת דיינו, דיינו, די, דיינו, די, דיינו, די, דיינו, 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 די, דיינו, די, דיינו, די, דיינו, דיינו, דיינו. אילו נתן לנו את התורה,
נתן לנו
את התורה דיינו,
Here we go!
די, די, דיינו, דיינו, די, דיינו, 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 דיינו. Shabbat Shalom.
Take care of each other out there.